At 72, Pierce Brosnan remains one of the most iconic figures in modern cinema, his name synonymous with elegance and resilience. While he is celebrated for portraying James Bond, the epitome of cool under pressure, his personal life tells a far different story. A man who once seemed impervious to life's hardships has endured more than most could imagine. He has faced devastating losses that no script could soften: the death of his first wife, Cassandra, from cancer, and years later, the return of the same disease, this time claiming his daughter, Charlotte. Yet through it all, Pierce stood with dignity, a silent testament to the strength of the human spirit. Behind the camera, he carried grief quietly, never allowing it to break him. His story is one of endurance, loss, and the deep consequences of love that never truly lets go. A childhood marked by absence. Pierce Brosnan's life began not with the promise of fame or fortune, but with absence. Born in Drogheda, Ireland, on May 16, 1953, Pierce's early years were shaped by the absence of his father, who left when Pierce was just an infant. There were no dramatic goodbyes, no explanations, just a silent exit. Pierce would later say he never knew his father's face or voice, a statement made without bitterness but with the quiet sorrow of abandonment. His mother, May, loved him deeply, but her love alone couldn't hold their fragile life together. At 4 years old, she left Ireland for London to work as a nurse, a decision meant to be temporary. But 7 long years passed before she returned, leaving Pierce with a fractured sense of home and a deeper understanding of impermanence. A childhood shaped by transience. During his mother's absence, Pierce lived a transient life, moving between relatives, never settling in one place for long. He stayed with his grandparents, then an aunt and uncle, learning early on that nothing in life was permanent, neither places nor people. This nomadic existence left Pierce withdrawn and observant, a boy who preferred the quiet company of his thoughts to the social bustle around him. Teachers noticed that he rarely spoke but always listened intently. His eyes often drifted toward windows, as if he were searching for something beyond the confines of his circumstances. Pierce's world was one of adaptability rather than rebellion, learning to accept the fleeting nature of things, never expecting much, but absorbing everything with silent resilience. A new beginning and the power of love. In 1964, Pierce's mother returned from London, bringing with her a new husband, William Carmichael. William was kind, patient, and steady, providing Pierce with something he had long been without: consistency. William taught him practical skills, took him fishing, and showed him what stability could look like. Despite the kindness he received, Pierce struggled to trust fully, fearing the love he had been denied for so long might be taken away. But that same year, something profound happened. William took him to the cinema to see Goldfinger, where Pierce was introduced to James Bond. The character of Bond, confident and untouchable, resonated deeply with him. Bond represented something Pierce longed for, not fame, but the sense of control and security he had never known. From that moment, he silently vowed to become strong enough to never be abandoned again. Discovering acting. A new path. At 16, Pierce left home for London, enrolling at St. Martin's School of Art with dreams of becoming a painter. His early life had been one of frugality and hard work, surviving on meager meals while his classmates lived in comfort. Acting was never part of the plan until a serendipitous encounter at a theater workshop. There, he was struck by the performance of a fire eater and impulsively asked to try it himself. This moment marked a shift. As Pierce realized he possessed something deeper than talent, he had presence. His raw intensity, shaped by his challenging upbringing, made an impact. He later attended the Drama Centre, London, where he trained in movement, mime, and Shakespeare, building a foundation of discipline and resilience that would serve him well in his future career. James Bond, the role that almost was. As Remington Steele grew in popularity, the whispers of James Bond became impossible to ignore. The role that Pierce had admired from childhood now seemed within reach. In 1983, Bond producer Albert Cubby Broccoli remarked that Pierce looked like the man who could wear the tuxedo. However, just as quickly, fate intervened. timing, contracts, and other circumstances kept Pierce from landing the iconic role, leaving him frustrated. The Bond opportunity passed to another actor, and though Pierce publicly remained gracious, the disappointment lingered. This pattern repeated itself in 1986, when Remington Steele was canceled, only for the Bond role to slip away once again. Pierce was becoming famous for almost being James Bond. The disappointment cut deeply, but Pierce, ever resilient, continued to work and evolve, waiting for the moment when fate would finally align. GoldenEye. A new beginning. In 1994, after years of near misses, the call for James Bond finally came. At 42, Pierce Brosnan was offered the role of 007 in GoldenEye, and this time there were no obstacles to hold him back. The film revived the Bond franchise, introducing Pierce as the new Bond to a fresh generation of fans. The film was a global success, reaffirming Pierce's place in cinematic history. He brought a new depth to the character, blending Bond's traditional toughness with a more modern, vulnerable edge. The success of GoldenEye launched 3 more Bond films, each solidifying Pierce's legacy as one of the greatest actors to portray the iconic spy. But even as the world celebrated his success, Pierce knew better than most that fame could vanish as quietly as it arrived. Behind the tuxedo, there was a man who had learned the painful lesson that nothing, not even success, is ever guaranteed. The toll of fame and personal struggles. While Pierce's career reached new heights with the Bond films, the toll of fame began to take its own toll. As Bond, Pierce was expected to be invincible both on screen and off, balancing the pressures of the public eye with the grief and loss that had followed him for years. The pressures were immense. Hollywood had given him everything, but it had also taken it back with startling speed. In 2004, after 4 Bond films, Pierce received a phone call that marked the end of his Bond era. He was informed that the role was being given to a younger actor, and his time as 007 had come to an end. This loss was not just professional, it was personal. Pierce had built much of his identity around Bond, and without it, he was left searching for a new direction. Loss and grief. A father's struggle. As if the loss of Bond wasn't enough, Pierce's personal life was rocked by another devastating blow. His son Christopher, whom he had raised as his own, fell victim to addiction. Pierce tried everything to help, but nothing seemed to work. Watching his son struggle and slip further away left Pierce feeling helpless. The toll it took on him was profound, but he pressed on, ever the resilient figure in public. Behind closed doors, however, the weight of these losses, both professional and personal, began to take a heavy toll on him. He became more guarded, less willing to trust the institutions that had once given him purpose. Fame had not broken him, but it had eroded him slowly, layer by layer, until only the essentials remained. The tragic return of grief. Pierce believed he had already endured the worst life had to offer, until the diagnosis came. His daughter Charlotte, just like his first wife Cassandra, was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. The news hit him like a crushing blow, a cruel repetition of the pattern he had lived before. Charlotte fought valiantly, never asking why, but choosing to live with intention despite her illness. She married the man she loved, defying cancer's grip for a final declaration of strength. But 2 weeks after her wedding, Charlotte passed away at 41, leaving Pierce to bury his daughter, just as he had buried his wife years earlier. The cruelty of the symmetry was unbearable. Pierce stood at her grave, a place no parent should ever stand, knowing that life had finally dealt its final blow. Endurance beyond loss. From that moment on, Pierce Brosnan's life shifted fundamentally. The man who had endured so much loss with dignity now carried a silence so deep it could never be filled. Fame had given him structure, but it had also amplified every pain, every moment of grief. Yet even in the face of overwhelming loss, Pierce found a way to endure. He moved forward, not because the world expected it, but because he had no other choice. His story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a man who has faced unimaginable loss, yet continues to carry on. In the quiet years, when life was supposed to slow, Pierce found that the greatest challenge was not surviving the world, but surviving himself.